Okay. Take two. God. Alright, if you were here for the earlier stream, I just deleted it, so there's no replaying of that, but I had my mic off. I didn't even actually have my mic off. Let me hold up one second. Let's make sure this is actually working. Yep, it's working. Okay. So something changed with the OBS settings and ended up making it so that my mic was not sending sound out. So I apologize for that if you showed up for that. So let's start over. It is Friday, February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day at 5:16 p.m. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, I actually did about 14 minutes with no audio at all, so I apologize for that. And I'll have to talk a little bit about what I said before as it is. Good to see you, Goodman. I did greet you before. I know you couldn't hear it, but good to see you. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about this. The lore video I produced on Vault 11 just came out today. I'd recommend it if you haven't seen it. Good to see you. Southern Modeler 29, welcome to the stream. So, the video on Vault 11 just got released today. It's a good story. Vault 11's is. I mean, it's terrifying. And it's one of those ones like Vault 19 where it's very grounded and realistic, much more so than ones like Vault 22 or something like that, you know, where you get the like sci-fi terrors that destroy a vault. This is something that feels much more like it's something that could actually happen. So I'd recommend that if you haven't seen it. Now that being said, I'm looking to put at least 2 more Fallout New Vegas lore videos this month, potentially 3 depending on whether or not I have the time for it. Specifically, the next one that I've already completed and which you can now watch if you are a, what's it called, member on my YouTube channel is covering the 188 Trading Post, which is right here where we are. Along with that, if you're a patron, you can also already watch it. I sent out the links to that the other day. So the one after that, well, the one I'm currently working on now is covering Boulder City, which is down the road down that way. So in terms of the 188 Trading Post, basically what I talked about here, it's a shorter one because this is a smaller location. It also just generally doesn't have that much going on here. And I didn't do the typical thing I do with settlements where I'm like, oh, it's down the hill from the Mountain Shadows campground or something like that. You know, no, instead I just talked about the site, the people here, and the story related to them specifically. So just trying to remember all the things I said before so I can recount them properly. And one of those things is that I've probably made a minor mistake in the lore in my previous lore videos, specifically relating to the timing of when the divide became the divide. Which, yeah, right there, Canyon Wreckage, that's the gateway to the divide. So, in preparation for doing the video on Boulder City, I went to go talk to Joshua Graham, the Burned Man, who you can find in the Honest Hearts DLC up in Zion Canyon. And specifically there, he talks about the fact that he thought that he and Caesar were incredibly lucky that the battle went the way it did for them, which was a loss for the Legion, but he said that it could have been much worse if the NCR had been able to get their troops there. But it seems that what happened was what happened to the divide happened shortly before the Battle of Hoover Dam. So suddenly the main trade route by which the NCR was bringing their people up, which was up this highway that comes up around this way and then comes down, that route was destroyed by the divide becoming the divide. So I think in the past I've made the mistake of saying, and not even directly referencing it, but saying something along the lines of what happened to the divide happened sometime after the Battle of Hoover Dam. It happened before the Battle of Hoover Dam. Now obviously what happened to Highway I-15, that's not even open to guessing. That happened in September of 2281 when the outbreak occurred at the NCR Correctional Facility. And that's what also ended up causing the outbreak of Deathclaws in the quarry near Sloan, and so that's why I-15's been shut down since September, October of 2281. So again, I apologize if I misled anybody on that stuff, but it will be corrected going forward in the new videos that I do. So in talking about the 188 Trading Post, I basically cover why it is that this place exists, in terms of like this location, the people that live here, well, that, you know, sell things here at the very least, We got Arms Merchant right here, which this is one of the
Hello.
strangest characters I think I've found in the game so far. And not because it's a strange person, but because this person has...
You a merc? Because you don't look like a prospector.
She's got so much backstory here where you can talk to her and find out that
I'll be here a while
she was
yet,
once a
if you
staff
need any
sergeant
guns or ammo.
in the NCR until she was forced out for refusing to flog a couple soldiers at the behest of Ronald Curtis. Now, if that name is ringing any bells in your head, it's because Ronald Curtis is a Legion Frumentari operating out of Camp McCarran. So again, it's just kind of crazy that this person, she actually has a proper backstory, but she doesn't have an actual name. She's just Arms Merchant. She lists her rank. It's Staff Sergeant of Bravo Company of I can't remember, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, it's and again, it's strange that they bothered to put that much work into a character that they wouldn't give a name. But there's also Alexander here, who works for the Gunrunners, and then there's Ezekiel over here, who's a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse. He's an anthropologist. And in this video, I talked a little bit about the history of the Great Khans because of Ezekiel, because specifically, the reason that the courier would ever go talk to Ezekiel is because they'd be doing the quest "Oh My Papa," which the only reason I say it that way is because it's from it's from a song, which so many of the quests in Fallout New Vegas are references to songs and I think movies and stuff like that. Let's see if I've got any currently in here. Yeah, Left My Heart, for example. Let's see. We Will All Go Together, I think, is one. Cold Cold Heart is. My Kind of Town is. So again, so many of these. Ain't That a Kick in the Head? Absolutely. So it's... anyway, when you're doing that quest for the Great Khans, you're basically trying to give the Great Khans a reason to go on. Because they're living out there in Red Rock Canyon, they're doing drugs, they're kind of just wasting away over time. And so you bring him a book called Pretty Pretty Horsies. Good to see you, Kuruma Smash. Hope you're having a good week. And you bring him a book basically on the Mongol Empire, and he's like, oh, good, something to shape my society with. And I've been thinking to myself, and I put this in the video, it's like, I hope this isn't like Edward Sallow learning about the Roman Empire, because it could end up creating a lot more problems for people giving him this book and making his people feel like they've got a reason to go on. So in terms of Boulder City, I'll talk about it a little bit, not much, because I want to leave most of it for the video. But right here we got the Boulder City sign, home of the Eagles, which is actually a reference to the real world. Boulder City High School is the home of the Eagles, so I thought that was interesting. Along with that, there's really not that much more to Boulder City that you can find in common with the real world. Yeah, the real world city did not exist until like 1930, 1931. It was built as a workers' camp by the Bureau of Reclamation to serve as a home for 5,000 workers during the construction of the Hoover Dam. So I had assumed that, you know, most of these towns you'd find out here grew up organically and became something else. No, Boulder City was built on virgin desert land by the Bureau of Reclamation. Well, they had the land and they paid people to build it, specifically a group called the Six Companies that were responsible for building Hoover Dam as well. Which I'm not going to talk more about Hoover Dam, just because that is going to definitely have its own video, because there's a crazy amount of stuff specific to Hoover Dam. But yeah, so I've already finished the real world history section on Boulder City. I'm working on getting the in-game part together. So let's see here. Came across your channel the other day looking for lore videos to listen to at work. Definitely one of the best Fallout lore videos. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that I can help you get through work. It's always great to have something to listen to. I find that half the time I'm doing my job, if I'm doing something that's basically just putting together drawings or something like that, I don't need to really have my mind turned on, so I can have it focused on something else entirely. So I know what you mean with that kind of stuff, so glad that can help. The concrete plant, that's the last thing I'll say about Boulder City here, is that from what I can tell, there's not something that matches the concrete plant here exactly in Boulder City. Specifically, so I looked into it because I was assuming that maybe this concrete plant was somehow a reference to what was used to build the Hoover Dam, but it's not. From what I can tell, the concrete that was made for the Hoover Dam came from California, specifically from Victorville, California. This right here is like, it's probably just here because they needed a place to put a concrete plant. But in reality, there is a small concrete facility in Boulder City that makes polymer concrete, and they use it. Basically, we're talking like precast stuff to use to make storm sewers and things like that. But when they know they're dealing with acidic environments, and so polymer concrete doesn't erode as quickly and stuff like that. So that's what they have in Boulder City. From some news stories I saw about it, it's had the company has had the stuff they make looks good, but I will say that they've had a few safety incidents in the past few years. Specifically, they had, I think it was an explosion and a fire at the Boulder City location, and they also had somebody who lost their thumb. Anyway, this was local news reporting on this stuff. So apparently the stuff they use to make polymer concrete, if you don't know, turning it from dry to wet is an exothermic reaction to where it releases a bunch of heat. And then along with that, apparently the polymer stuff they use to make polymer concrete is itself, I believe, flammable. I don't think it is once it's actually like in the concrete, but before that it is. So I think that was the issue there. So I don't know though. I only really got some scant eyes on that stuff. But the last thing I was saying before I had to close out the stream when my wife, who's in here, checked on it and saw that my mic wasn't working, was that this right over here, Helios 1, the inspiration for it in the real world is being shut down. And that's the Ivanpah Solar Power Electric Generating Station. I think I got an extra word in there for the name. But anyway, it's in the real world, it's down here in the Ivanpah Valley. Specifically, it's like kind of right up in here. To the west and south of Prim. And in the real world, it's also actually just a bunch of mirrors sitting around this main tower, focusing sunlight onto it to boil water to make steam. But I guess there's been some issues with the plant in terms of maintenance and stuff like that. I believe it was kind of a first of its kind sort of a situation, which always means you're going to end up with unforeseen issues. And in the case of the Ivanpah power plant, it ended up that they decided to shut it down a few years early. It was originally supposed to go until 2029. They've basically they're going to shut it down next year in 2026. How crazy is that, by the way, that next year is 2026? I don't know. It's just like every year I keep getting kind of amazed that it's already the next year, and so the fact that it's 2025 is weirding me out enough as it is. So yeah. This month, February, I put that poll together where I was going to be covering Vault 11, the 188 Trading Post, Boulder City, or Helios 1, and it said I'd cover 2 of them. I will be covering at least 3 of them. As I was saying before, when nobody could hear me, if I find the time, I will also do one covering Helios 1, just because I think that'd be pretty cool to get 4 out in 1 month. I've been extremely productive this month, much more so than usual. Which I will say that the housework has suffered a little bit because of that. I should definitely be doing more around the house, but regardless, I'll figure out the proper balance on things here. And I've also been working on additional videos for the Dragon Age series, and then along with that, I am still planning on doing at least one Surveil video this month. I'm not sure exactly what the location's going to be. I'm going to figure that out and move forward with that. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a new one or if I'm going to make basically updating coverage on a location that has changed. Quick disclaimer about the 188 Trading Post. I barely talk about Veronica. She's going to get a full video for herself. Okay, yeah, I've passed that solar plant myself. So you're heading up to Vegas. My wife and I, she was my fiance at the time, we flew into LA and drove up to Vegas, and then drove back to LA from Vegas, and both times passed it. We weren't going by at night the first time, so I couldn't see it. Could see it the next time, and also could see the Gene Correctional Facility, which became the NCRCF in game. Curious about I'm curious about history of tourism since the release of the game. Oh, yeah, no. So, if you haven't seen it, there is a... Oh, come on. There is a... come on. There we go. There's a Twitter account for the Prospector Saloon in Goodsprings. Or it might just be for Goodsprings. I'm not sure. But regardless, the amount of business that they've gotten out here has dramatically gone up, especially around Fallout Day. Or Fallout... Yeah, I think Fallout Day specifically, so we're talking October 23rd. But there was a whole big festival out there last year. I'd like to go out there sometime myself, just would have to get the timing right and everything like that. But it has definitely blown up tourism specifically to Goodsprings, at the very least. I know that. Personally, I've been to... Well, I didn't really stop in Goodsprings. I drove through there, though. And then along with that, I drove through Primm, obviously, twice. And then along with that, again, like I said, I could see the NCRCF. And I also visited Hoover Dam, drove to... I ate at the McDonald's in Boulder City. So, hey, Osborne and Bread 73, welcome to the stream. Hope things are going well for you. My mom's actually in Australia right now. She's gone for a biking trip. So, she's somewhere on the East Coast. I don't know exactly where. She says it's beautiful, though. I'll say that. And also quite warm. And it is not terribly warm here right now, although not terribly cold. I live in Central Texas, and it's now in the 40s outside, I think. Let's see. Yeah, 49 degrees right now, which is definitely not cold, but definitely cooler than you all have it down there, given it's summer right now. So, but yeah, Hoover Dam is great. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. This character hasn't apparently seen Hoover Dam yet. They did a pretty good job with some of the stuff. I mean, especially on the interior of the dam, like when they show the giant generators and stuff like that. Yeah, most of the population is on the East Coast. I am aware of that. Let's see. Basically, it's like anything west of the mountains, you have to go out all the way to Perth to find people. I know that's not exactly accurate, but it is. Let's see. I think she's somewhere around Sydney. So, let's turn off clipping. Oh, I turned it off already. Turn it back on. There we go. They did a relatively good job with some of this stuff. And I'd say for a video game, they did a pretty good job. Yeah.
Patrolling the Mojave?
No,
Makes you wish for a nuclear
I kind of want to see the Outback, but I also wouldn't want to, like, ever be stuck in the Outback. Oh, one thing I will talk about, because I don't think I definitely have not written anything about it into the script, but it is really interesting to consider what the original purpose of the Department of Reclamation was. So, up until 1922, it was called the Reclamation Service, but the idea behind it, and there's like even a sign on the memorial, yeah, Mad Max, there's a sign on the memorial where, for the 100+ workers, I can't remember the exact number, the 100-something workers who died in the construction of the Hoover Dam, and it says they died so that the desert would bloom. And so you look into like what the Bureau of Reclamation was originally planning on doing, and it seems like their goal was effectively to reclaim, I think I actually read this as, was to reclaim and green the West. So it seems like their goal was to take the entire Mexican cession that we got from the Mexican-American War and basically turn it into more of the rest of the country in terms of arability. So basically make it so you would be able to grow crops all across the deserts of the American Southwest. I think that was the original goal, which is part of why they focused on building something like Hoover Dam, because they figured they'd be able to get the water from what became Lake Mead and use it to basically... Jeez Louise. My cat just decided to try to jump on top of a bookshelf he's never been on before. Knock some things over. So that's fun. One of the cats. I'm sorry about that. Jeez. Okay. You. Go find somewhere to be. It's not here. God. Where was I? So yeah. While the Bureau of Reclamation still exists today, I think the mission has changed a bit. Because again, it seems like they were originally doing something much more grand and broad than they ended up settling upon later. But the Hoover Dam was absolutely one of the things on their list of things to build to try to green the West. So, what else? Let's see. So yeah, I may or may not cover Helios 1. Yeah, kitty jump scares, absolutely. I may or may not cover Helios 1, because it is actually a fairly big topic. It's not as big as covering a municipality, I don't think, because with municipalities I do have to cover not only the site itself, the sites surrounding it, but also the real-world version of it. And like I said, there is and isn't a real-world version of Helios 1. But the biggest thing with this one is covering all the knockdown effects that it has on everything else. Knock-on effects, I should say. Including what happens with Archimedes, and just also dealing with power distribution, going from the plant to other locations. And it might be one of those things where, again, if I complete it, if I get the time to work on it, I will. Otherwise, I'll just put it basically in the list of potential future videos, along with covering the Mojave Outpost, and obviously covering companions like EDE, the Rose of Sharon Cassidy, and up to Boone, and now Veronica. So, we'll see. Because this is New Vegas. And so, let me actually go to day again, because it's a lot easier to see things in the day, obviously, and the landscape's a bit more interesting to look at and everything like that. So, like I said in the channel update and what I've said here on the streams before, March I'm going to be covering Fallout 4. And I want to make sure that I have basically the first video for that ready to go within the first week or two. I want to have it ready beforehand, but I want to have that launched like the first or second week of March. And so if I can get all the videos done for February, and I can basically start on the ones for March, and I maybe still have some time left over, maybe I'll cover Helios 1 as well. If not, then again, it'll just have to wait. Let's see. I don't know. I think that covers most of what's coming at this point. Hope you all are having a good week. It's been not a bad one for me. I can't. Now I'm trying to remember if I've covered if I've covered everything that I said before I discovered that my mic wasn't on. I think so. I'm going to point out this one location out here, and it's a location that I'd never been before until basically doing some filming for Boulder City, because this one lies right on the edge of the territory of that I cover in terms of covering Boulder City. Because what I always do is I go and I take a picture of the map, and I draw a ring around a location, and I cover basically I say like this point is within like Repcon test site up the mountains to the west of Novak, right? Well, Boulder City's right there. This El Dorado substation is just right on the edge of the ring that I cover. And I'd never been here before, and I assume that's because it's something related to turning on Helios 1, and maybe when you feed all the power directly to the NCR rather than feeding it to other people. That guy's trying to come interact with me. I'm going to go ahead and turn off detection. So now AI detection is off. Oh, looks like he's already zeroed in on me as it is.
Stay out of the control room and enclosure, or there's gonna be trouble. Got it?
Right. Again, I'd never...
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going to come in here. Again, I'd never been in here before.
Here at the Dorado,
And when I came in, it was night. There was a bunch of NCR troopers sleeping on the floor. And then along with that, there's this computer over here, which is a power substation. Oh! Well, thank you, Osborne and Bread73. You can now actually watch my video on the 188 Trading Post. Thank you for becoming a member. So leave access point alone. Again, I've never actually interacted with this thing before, ever. So I had... that would be one thing, is seeing if this is somehow related to the to Helios 1, and again, supplying power directly to the NCR rather than anyone else. Because I always do it to where I provide power across New Vegas, so even if it's like a low amount of power, everyone gets power. So it'll be interesting to actually look into that and find out what exactly that does. So, but yeah, so speaking of basically members being able to see new videos early, I am basically starting to do it to where as soon as I finish a video, it goes up on the channel, and then is going to be available for members to see up until the actual launch date of the video, which is the case with the 188 Trading Post. It's already ready to go. Again, it will launch publicly next Friday on the 21st, and Boulder City will likely be for the Friday following that, the 28th. So, if you're interested in seeing the stuff early and providing some monetary support to the channel, that is a place to go and watch that stuff. And again, if you want to become a patron, you will also get an ad-free link to it. That links to my Amazon Web Services version of it that streams directly to you. All right. what else to say about this stuff? There is, I need to figure something out to do in terms of the next video poll for members, because specifically, like, I've made it already known that patrons get more of a vote on what the next lore video is going to be, and I want to make sure I do the same thing with channel members as well. So I'll need to, probably what I'll do is if you go to the Discord and you vote, I can see your name on the Discord as to what you voted for. So if I see you there and you are a member, then I will count your vote. Let's just say I'll count you 3 times. If you are a channel member and you vote on the Discord. Okay. This cat right here wants to get down. This is the other cat, the one that did not cause problems. But she's causing problems now. Like I said, I want to make sure everybody gets a say in what the next lore video is, but if you are paying me money, then I'm obviously going to give you more of a say. In terms of March, the videos for Fallout 4, the 4 topics that I potentially have to be covered are the Gunners. Let me take a look, because I actually don't remember all of them off the top of my head. I remember at least 3 of them, and I want to make sure I get them all. Let's see here. Next lore video. Okay, Gunners, Covenant, Raiders of the Commonwealth, and Jamaica Plain. So the last one there, Jamaica Plain, is just a municipality. It's obviously got the treasures of Jamaica Plain as well. If you're not aware, there's basically this big public awareness campaign about the treasures of Jamaica Plain, and now people after the war think it's like some actual great treasure, but it's really just like antiques and stuff like that. But along with that, Raiders of the Commonwealth is covering all the different raider bands that you can find at the different locations across the Commonwealth. So we're talking about like Beantown Brewery, the Saugus Ironworks. They've all got their little raider gangs that actually have a raider leader, and there's actually interactions that you can find between those raider leaders. And so I'm going to cover them in the same way that I covered the Raiders of the Savage Divide. So Covenant is... not sure what's going on over there. Covenant is a little community that is basically out to get synths. They've got a nice little walled city set up. It's a strange situation there where they've got the test for synths that I don't think actually works. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've encountered that content. And then, again, the Gunners. I've been kind of building up to that one. And so I'll say that if Gunners wins, then I'll actually be doing 2 videos specific to the Gunners. One of them will be quite short, but I feel I need to cover it before I cover the Gunners as an organization. And that is to cover the site within Nuka World where the Gunners have an outpost. Because I've done that for every other Gunners location in Fallout 4. Well, I'll say 90% of the other ones, because there's places like there's that large-scale overpass in the Western Commonwealth that I did not cover, but there's not really a story there as far as I know. I've actually looked, and I don't remember finding any notes or anything. It's just the case that the Gunners have basically occupied the upper level of an overpass out there. One of those big clover overpass sort of things where you got multiple, it's an interchange. But yeah, all the other locations I've covered, like Vault 75, Vault 95, I think. I looked at this just last time. But yeah, so again, if the Gunners wins, I'll be covering the one in the Commonwealth, and then covering the organization as a whole. The one in the not in the Commonwealth, in Nuka World, and that one should take me no more than a couple days, I wouldn't think. The Gunners one will take longer, obviously, because it's a full-scale organization, but because I've already covered all the other locations, I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to miss anything, which is always a concern I have when I'm doing a lore video, is that I'm going to miss something. And so, like, for example, I found that I missed something with Prim when I was doing the 188 trading post, and this is because I simply did not know the backstory of these 2 people. In fact, I'm going to fast travel over there just to get there faster. Here we go, the Kerrs. So this is Samuel and Michelle Kerr. Samuel, I think, is sleeping right now. Yes. It's a father and daughter, and I should have known to talk about them in Prim, but I didn't know about their background, which is that they were originally in Prim until the outbreak at the NCRCF drove them out, and they came to relocate here. So, I mean, it's a minor thing, but at the same time, it is still something that is missing from my Prim video. So the goal is always to try to make sure that I don't miss anything like that, but stuff like that, it will occasionally slip through the cracks. So, interesting slop and shop is what they call it. They sell food and ammunition, which the ammunition is in good company here with the other 2 arms merchants, both Arms Merchant and Alexander. So, What else? Have you all had a good week? Got any plans for today and tomorrow? My wife told me not to buy flowers many times over. In fact, we were like at the store and stuff like that, and I'm looking at flowers. She said, don't get this for me. And the thing you should always know is always ignore your wife when she tells you not to get flowers, because now I'm going to have to go get flowers after I finish this stream. Anyway. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's too much more to tell y'all specific to upcoming. I think I've covered everything upcoming, so I'll also just say if you're in like other lore universes, not even lore in this case, universes that I interact with, Helldivers. In Helldivers 2, there's currently the Meridia super black hole, or not even, I don't think it's a super black hole, the Meridia black hole. It's always opposite day, yeah. Okay, Goodman, not too much. Yeah. The Meridia black hole is being drawn towards Super Earth. So if you have done anything Helldiving related, then now is the time to get to the defense of Super Earth and fight the Illuminate Horde. Sitting at home playing 76, not a bad way to spend a weekend. I'm interested to see where things go in the future with 76. I still have not actually gotten into the newest content in 76. And it's just one of those things where it's like I've been so busy with the other lore videos, I just have not had the time to get into other Fallouts at the time. I did record a little bit of Fallout 1 and 2 for the purposes of the next lore video, but that was really just covering locations the cons are within those games. One other thing I will shout out here, and let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm probably not going to have it be something that I show you just because I don't... where is it? Sorry, one second. I liked it earlier today, so that should help me find it. Something to check out. Okay. The user on Twitter, or X, is ZeroFoxFX. Oh, sorry, FK. She put together this interesting video where she's running around in Fallout 76, and it like looks like it's an isometric Fallout game. Really interesting. I'd definitely say check it out. It's from about a day ago at this point, so... But yeah, I don't know exactly how she did it, too, because basically she's got it in third person, but in almost an isometric view, to where like the camera is zoomed like as far back as you can get it from above, to where it looks like she's just running around in the isometric environment of Appalachia. I don't know how she did it, but it looks great. And there were people that were like, yeah, I could see myself playing this like that. Pretty interesting. And it's one of those things where you don't really think about how much the perspective changes your view on a game until you actually experience it. Like, because again, it looked like she was playing like a highly detailed isometric game. But anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell y'all about this stuff. There is a reference to the Van Graffs in the 188 trading post, although it's not something that I mentioned in the video, nor is it anything that actually the guy there knows is a reference to the Van Graffs. Alexander talks about the fact that they try to sell energy weapons, but they keep having their caravans robbed anytime it is energy weapons, and he thinks that it's the Brotherhood of Steel, but in truth it's actually the Van Graffs. Because they have a monopoly on energy weapons. But I don't know when I'm going to actually get around to talking about them. It's going to be a while. Because, if you're not aware, I've been covering Fallout New Vegas for a few years now, and because it's interspersed with everything else, I've only come all the way around to here now. There's still probably a half dozen, at least, topics that I have yet to cover in the areas that I've bypassed, you know? So, it's going to be a while before I finish everything here. But getting back to 76, I'm definitely looking forward to actually experiencing the content that they added with this new Gleaming Depths area. I've not gotten around to it. Definitely looking forward to seeing exactly what's involved with that. I've seen people say it's Enclave related, which I'm definitely interested in seeing. to me, the two factions, and this is definitely something that you find to be the case. Oh, this is a Followers Outpost. I've forgotten that this was here. But this is definitely something that is true of the East Coast Fallouts and definitely not of the West Coast Fallouts, but I've always found and ever since Fallout 3, that the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel have been like the two factions that really push the story forward. Obviously not in Fallout 4. So it's really only in 76 and 3. But, well, no, you can zoom out as far as you want, but it's not the same thing. If I could reliably pull this thing up on my screen, I would. I just don't. I haven't really worked with that sort of thing with this setup yet. So, at some point, maybe I will, to where I can show you all little videos and stuff like that. But you also never know what you're going to see on Twitter, and this is including with people that I follow that generally you think are going to post safe stuff, but there's just you never know what people are going to put on Twitter these days. I mean, if you were not aware, before he fully abandoned Twitter the other day and then came back, Kanye West was literally posting X-rated videos directly on his page. Now, I do not follow Kanye West, nor did I, but it's just like, what are you doing? My understanding is he's gone and back now. I don't know. I haven't looked, but yeah. So, anyway. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in the Gleaming Depths. Also, potentially this year, and we've talked about this before, Oblivion Remaster. Looking forward to seeing what comes of that. Elder Scrolls 6. Hopefully we'll get some actual proper news on that this year. I do think we're still probably kind of in the wilderness when it comes to the next Fallout game. I think that's still going to be, I don't even know, 8 years from now? I hate to say it, but it's one of those things where, I mean, Skyrim, that came out in 2011, and it's now 2025, and we're just now really actually like expecting to see some proper coverage on that game. So that's 14 years. We got Fallout 4 in 2015, so by the same time there, I'm assuming we're not going to get Elder Scrolls 6 this year. I would assume that that's, if at the soonest, going to be next year. And probably not even then. I would not be surprised if that's a 2027 release, which would be, at that point, what, 16 years in between releases? So, 2031 for Fallout 5? God, I hope not. I really hope not. Oh, man. Jeez Louise. We should still be getting some more content for Starfield this year. People have noticed that the rate of basically them talking about Starfield seems to have cut down a bit. There's speculation as to the reason for that being that they're planning on releasing it on April 2031. There's speculation that they're going to be releasing it on the PlayStation soon, so it's probably, if that is the case, then it would make sense that they'd have to be doing a lot of kind of behind-the-scenes work to just get that thing working on the PlayStation. If you're not aware, and this could have just been my personal experience and my experience with other people that had PlayStations, was that Bethesda titles have generally had a kind of a rough time working on PlayStation, and that's, I don't know. Some people have blamed Bethesda for that, but other people have blamed Sony for that. So I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they are having to do some serious work behind the scenes to get Starfield working on the PlayStation. And that's potentially why they haven't been talking about the next DLC. So, we'll see, though. I'm definitely still interested in seeing what's more to come with that. I've talked about this a little bit before, but basically more so than wanting to see new content, I want to see them kind of bulk the world out. Basically make some of the places make more sense, and just in terms of like population and stuff like that. Like Atlanta, New Atlantis is supposed to be like the biggest city in the settled systems, and yet it's quite small. And along with that, I miss some of the things they had with previous games, to where there was the Radiant AI system that they developed, that Bethesda themselves developed. And yeah, Mass Ex. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. No, that kind of stuff can happen. I know that a lot of people experienced that with their Switches. So Bethesda developed the Radiant AI system, which, if you're not aware, they made that for Oblivion, and the goal there was to make AI characters seem like they had more of a life. And you can actually see some of that even here, to where now it's nighttime, so Samuel here is manning the bar, whereas during the day, Michelle is out here working. And she sleeps at night. He works at night. He sleeps during the day. And Bethesda seems to have just kind of abandoned that with Starfield, to where like you can go to a restaurant any time of day and the same person is working that restaurant. But not only that, but that restaurant doesn't even have a kitchen, and it's just like, what's going on, guys? I want them to get back to where like every NPC has a house. All of the like actual structures make some more sense. Focus more on utility, a little bit less on aesthetics. Because yeah, the buildings look great and everything like that, but again, I want more. And the crazy thing is, there's an entire residential district in New Atlantis with towers where they could easily just build out the floors and be like, oh, this guy works here at this Kentarian Arms. And I think that's a woman that runs that shop. Anyway, but she lives in this building over there, but she's got this other worker, and it doesn't even have to be a named NPC. It can just be like arms dealer or something like that. Now that Starfield's been out for a while. Overall opinion on the game. Okay. I have played it quite a bit. In fact, I've been to literally every planet, surveyed them, compiled the data, so you can actually see that if you want to check out the... I've got a link to it somewhere. So yeah, I definitely have experienced it fully. I've experienced all the quests. I'll say this, that... Okay, so first of all, I love the exploration. It definitely has some issues in terms of procedural generation. They need more locations that can appear. Because it's like one of those things where... And it's probably only something that really occurs when you do land on every planet. Is that, like, I've seen one of these locations a dozen times over. Because there's like 1,000 planets, but again, when you only have... I don't even know what it is, 25, 30 different locations that can randomly generate in, you're going to see those locations many times over. So it's definitely, like, that, I find that to be a bit frustrating. Especially because I would honestly prefer there to be more of a logical reason for these places to exist where they do. Like, so if you're not aware, there have been 2 large-scale galactic wars that have taken place between the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies. And so, especially during the Colony War, we're talking about what they're saying is the most destructive war in human history. And not in terms of deaths, because I think that title is still held by World War II. But in terms of, like, they devastate entire planets, because we're talking about a extremely advanced humanity that has weapons that can devastate planets and will do so, and uses alien weapons and stuff like that. But the problem is, there's like only one actual battlefield that you find, and that's on Nira, I believe, and it's right outside one-of-a-kind salvage. And it looks amazing. Like, there are destroyed mechs, crashed ships, there's Xeno weapons patrolling, like, basically the Xeno weapons kind of go feral. Some of them breed, and so you end up with non-native species wandering around these planets. Let's see, one so. The title says Fallout 74? Oh, no, yeah, that's because it's the 74th stream. Sorry about that, yeah. No, welcome to the stream, Tilted Tilter Gaming. No, yeah, this is, it's not, not covering Fallout 74, no. This is the 74th stream I've done. So that's why it's got that number. But, yeah, so in terms of Starfield. So again, I would like to see them bulk out the world more in terms of that kind of stuff. Put in more battlefields. They talk about the Battle of Partic Pass, which is this battle that the UC won against this, like, onslaught of Freestar Collective mechs. But again, there's no way to visit that battlefield in the game. There's the destruction of the colony on Vesta, which was destroyed by the Red Devils. They came in with Xeno weapons and killed 96% of the population or something like that with 0 casualties on their own side. I want to see that ruined colony. So I do think that the game definitely needs more bulking out in terms of locations, and that could easily be done by taking those locations that they make random and actually putting them on worlds where they should be. So they're like in the more core worlds to the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies, there should be more locations where they're like hangars and stuff like that, where they're building ships and housing ships and building mechs and all that kind of stuff. And as you get further out, there should be fewer and fewer of those things, and they should be more related to prospecting and things like that, and these little tiny colonies and things like that. So again, I think that the exploration is good, but that the procedural generation is poorly done. I'll say that. What else? I'm not a big fan of the way that they depict Earth. I think I understand why they did it the way they did it. If you don't want spoilers on the story here, I'll try to say this as subtly as possible. Basically, Earth is ruined for human habitation. I won't say why exactly. I think that the reason they give for it, like the sci-fi reason as to why it happens, is fine, but the state that it's in is not perfect. So basically what you're looking at when you're looking at Earth is that it's got no magnetosphere, which led to the atmosphere bleeding away. But at the end of the day, if that happens, it's only been, I don't remember the exact number of years, I think less than 200 years, I believe, because I think it's 2330, and the Earth lost its atmosphere around 2150, something like that. I can't remember the exact dates off the top of my head. So what is your idea for them to improve the game and at least win back some of the hype they had? So yeah, part of that is, again, improving the procedural generation system. Part of that would be improving Earth. So I think it was around 2150, 2200, something like that. I think it was around 2200 that the Earth completely lost its atmosphere. But there's nothing left on Earth. And it's like, okay, there's a colony on Mars that's built partially underground. Sorry, one second. Needed to wet my throat a little bit there. There's a colony on Mars at Cydonia, which is built partially underground. And it's where miners have lived since before the Earth lost its atmosphere. And it's like, you're going to tell me that humanity would not take the time where the atmosphere is bleeding away to build some partially subterranean colonies on Earth? On the birthplace of our species, where there are billions of us? And where literally everybody, you could basically be like, all right, you help us build these underground locations or you're going to die. And it's even the case where it's like, we're not even going to be able to save everybody. It's like we're building vaults, but we can make them a bit bigger than that, and we can make it so that we're not running experiments in them. And so there should also be just like domed cities on the surface of Earth. There aren't. Earth is basically just this big, dry, deserty ball, and there's not even really ruins of cities. You can find the occasional monument ruin, and so I'll say I think I understand why they did it the way they did it, which is that if they were to actually properly depict the Earth and show ruined cities and stuff like that, it would take an inordinate amount of time and resources to do that, which they needed to invest in other parts of the story. So they could have basically gone in and had it procedurally generate cities, but it would have been the case where, unless they invested in an enormous amount of time in basically creating different models for it to procedurally generate out for a single planet, then they would end up with, like if they did that, then they'd end up with an Earth that looked more correct. But again, they needed to use that time and resources to do other things. So I will give them that, but at the same time, I would like to see them improve it in the future. The factions are fine, but I think we need to see them more in depth. In fact, in the course of the story, you meet, I think, one, maybe two of the governors of the Freestar Collective. Yeah, because you meet Benjamin Bayou. I believe he's on the board of governors of the Freestar Collective. And along with that, you end up you end up killing Ron Hope. Shout out to to Wes Johnson, who is doing better now, by the way. The voice of Ron Hope. And, yeah, and my wife wants me to end the stream here soon, so I'll try to close things down quick in the next 5 minutes or so. We didn't see much of the government of the Freestar Collective. We should have seen more of that. The United Colonies, we saw the government, but you can't even talk to half the government ministers. If you go into the mast tower, again, you can see the head of the army, the head of the navy, you can see the head of the health and human services, you can see their president. In most cases, though, you can't talk to them unless there's a specific quest related to it. So I'd like to see more of that stuff in depth. In New Atlantis, it's effectively, I've talked about this in the video that I produced on New Atlantis, it's effectively the case that New Atlantis was the refugee camp for humanity as we attempted to flee Earth when the atmosphere was failing. So it was the first colony outside the solar system, and yet there's no real remnant of any sort of the sign for this. I mean, if you go to the Undercity, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's definitely not Undercity. That keeps making me think of World of Warcraft. But regardless, there's like some remnants of it where you've got the med bay, which is the clinic in the underbelly. I can't remember what it's called. Regardless, that's a little bit of a part of a ship, but there's not enough. The city is also basically just like sitting there in the middle of a forest. There should be industrial zones, there should be residential districts, all kinds of stuff surrounding it. And again, this is all stuff that they could procedurally generate in. I'd be fully willing to accept that, again, so long as... I would say that they would need to do it procedurally generated before the game, rather than done by individual games. Which is to say that I don't think anybody should go to New Atlantis and see a different surroundings for them. It should be the same New Atlantis for every player. What else? I think they did an incredible job with the side stories, specifically the quest line for the UC's, what's it called? Vanguard. The UC Vanguard is great. Going after the Crimson Fleet, or siding with the Crimson Fleet, that's also great. I will say that there are a few issues with some of the companion missions, but they're generally pretty good. But yeah, I'd say that more so than wanting to see new content in the world in terms of like, we've got an entirely new story for you. No, I want to see them bulk out the existing world and make it make more sense. In terms of, again, doing better procedural generation of locations, seeing more of the history of the world in the world. Like, I had this plan before the game launched. I'm like, I'm going to go see all these locations that they've mentioned in the timeline. So, like, I made a list, and Vesta was one of the locations I wanted to go see because it was the site that launched the first intergalactic war, intragalactic war, between the UC and the FC, and there's just no sign that anything ever happened there, and it's just really disappointing, because, like, again, I had high hopes for this stuff, and it's just not there. Now, again, I'll say that I think they did a great job in terms of, like, the shipbuilding. I enjoy the space combat. I know that it's not for everybody. I think that they did a good job with the first-person shooting. They did a good job in terms of like the nature of the factions and stuff like that. I want to see more. I want them bulked out more in the game to where they match the lore, which they currently don't, I don't think. So. Hey, Lord Jukas. All right, so. Again, my wife wants me to end the stream here in the next minute or so. So, if you missed the earlier part, the 188 Trading Post video is currently available for members on YouTube and available to patrons. It will launch on Friday the 21st. I'm currently working on the Boulder City video that will launch the 28th of February. And then after that, I'm going to be working on probably on Fallout 4 videos. I would like to get to Helios 1, but I don't think that's going to happen. I need to get working on whatever the next video is going to be. And part of that is that I still need to figure out what they're going to be at this point. Happy wife, happy life, indeed. So currently, with the current vote totals, let's see here. Not as much voting this time as there was for last. I don't know if people are just more interested in seeing Fallout New Vegas videos than seeing Fallout 4 videos. Currently on the Patreon, I've got 2 votes for the Gunners, 1 for Covenant. And on the Discord, there is 1 vote for Raiders of the Commonwealth and 1 vote for Covenant. So currently it looks like what I'll probably be covering is Governors and the Gunners and Covenant. I was combining the names there. But so that's what it's looking like now. Again, I have not made a decision yet. The poll is still running, so if you're interested in seeing something else, then go ahead and go vote. It's the next lore video channel on the Discord, or if you're a patron, it's just the top announcement on the Patreon page right now. So, but I'm going to close things out here. I hope you all enjoyed the Vault 11 video. I hope you all have a good week. Hope you all have a good weekend ahead and a good week, and I will see you all next Friday.
Dude, quit blaming me.
I'm still streaming.